Breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. And again. And one more deep breath. Go inside yourself and see how you're feeling today. Take another deep breath, and when you're ready, you can open your eyes. So with my students, I would say, raise your hand if you're in the volcano, if you're excited or nervous or angry or worried, or you're moving inside, you're restless. Thank you. Raise your hand if you're between the volcano and the calm rooted tree, a little bit nervous, a little bit worried, a little bit angry. Okay, thank you. Raise your hand if you're in the iceberg. Sad, tired, sick, lonely. Maybe you have a headache or a stomach ache. Nobody's in the iceberg today. Oh. Raise your hand if you're a little bit in the iceberg, almost in the tree. Okay, thank you. Raise your hand if you're in the volcano and the iceberg at the same time. Let's say 1 minute to be bored. Just 1 minute to do whatever you want. Take deep breaths. If you're comfortable with your eyes closed, and when the timer goes off, hopefully you'll be closer to the tree. So we'll start. Would anyone like to share where they went for their 1 minute? Sophie?
I was singing really loud in my head. It was fun.
You were singing loudly in your head? That's new. Anyone else want to share where they were?
I was on the football ground just nearby, playing football. Yeah.
Anyone else?
I happened to visit a tree I used to climb when I was about in class 10th and like that. Gave a visit.
Nice. Does anybody raise your hand if you're feeling your energy kind of a little bit lower and you're ready, not your energy lower, but you're ready to be kind of closer to the calm rooted tree? Did anyone shift their energy a little bit? Not really? Not really? Okay. So Sophie has a suggestion that we do a really strange energy shifter. I mentioned it to some of you outside when we were playing yesterday. It's strange, but in the schools we work in, the two favorite energy shifters to create that self-regulation and get back into the calm rooted tree is the guided visualization that we did yesterday. Take 1 minute and something that we call roots. So we're going to do roots. Maybe you'd like to move your chair over and I'll explain what you're doing. Or I'll do it. You can explain.
Yeah, so this is a really great one before an exam or when you see a child or a student very dysregulated. This really does the trick most of the time. So you sit with your 2 feet on the ground. You might want to back up your chair a little bit because you're going to need some space in front of you. Yeah. And you're going to use the soft part of your hand over here and you're going to hit your knee with it. This is actually an acupuncture point. This exercise is grounded in some kind of acupuncture thing. So as you're going to do some karate chop, we're going to take 5 deep breaths. So here we go. Keep chopping. 1, 2, 3. Inhale by the nose and exhale through your mouth. Through the nose, through the mouth. 4, a little faster, a little bit faster. Come on, everybody. Chop, chop, chop. And last deep breath. Okay, now hold your hands in front of you. Can you feel the energy in your hands? Is this tickly? Can you stretch it? So the calmer you are inside, the more you can stretch this kind of energy. Okay. When you're ready, take this energy and send it inside your heart chakra over here. And let the energy come inside your body, go up in your head, then goes back down into your belly, down through your lower back, into your legs. Keep your hands close to your heart. And then the energy goes through your knees, all the way down to your feet. And when your energy is under your feet, you send it through the building, right down to the ground. And you grow really big roots, like a big, strong tree. So you push the energy down through the floor, through the cement, all the way down to the ground. Can you feel it? And when you're done, you take another last deep breath. And with smaller kids, normally I say, now we're going to stretch our branches out and shake our leaves because we've been... So take your arms out and shake everything. Yeah. There you go. Okay, ready to begin? Yeah, so this is quite different than a mindfulness exercise. So we have also a lot of them. Appendix D is full of these exercises. Energy shifting exercise. Yeah? Oh, okay, so I continue. So we changed the plan. Yesterday we wanted you to experiment a little bit on how to teach with the lessons. It's not that simple. You did a great job, you did amazing, but please do not expect to be able to find it very easy right away. Tara and I could teach you 100 of activities that are super simple and fun, but what we've been doing since last week is trying to deepen emotional literacy, and that's hard. And we wanted to be connected to the activity in the lesson. That takes time. That will take a lot of practice from yourself. So give yourselves a break. If you thought yesterday was really hard and it was difficult for you, well, that's normal, okay? And this will get easier when you start practicing. It will never get easier if you don't practice, so you have to go slowly, go at your own pace. But any activity is easy to do, but emotional awareness and literacy connected to it, which is what we're trying to do here, now that's difficult and that takes a while in practice. So anyway, we were so impressed by all the stuff that we saw yesterday. Well done, but don't get discouraged is my message here. If you thought this was really hard, yeah, it's normal, but just keep practicing the emotional literacy. Meanwhile, you can do all kinds of activities, and today that would be one of them. But you have also the knowledge to connect it back to the emotional literacy that we've been working on. Because we thought today we're going to do intervention. But I kept telling Tara, yeah, but we haven't done cooperative learning. And so we thought, oh, intervention. And then the last hour we do cooperative learning. And it's like, oh, this is too rushed. So what we're going to do is cooperative learning today. And tomorrow we're going to focus on intervention. Because and even this afternoon, if we have a bit of time, I don't know if we realize that we've gone through this real quick and that was easy, and we have some time, after tea break, we may start intervention. We'll see. But if it's really fun and we want to keep doing the cooperative learning, well, we just take our time. So what I'm going to do first is show you a movie. Everything in that movie we do in our school, and I thought instead of explaining it to you, it's much more fun to see it. So you're going to watch this film. And after that, we're going to add something that they're not showing on this film, which is really particular to what we teach with the giraffe language. Okay. Again, this is from Edutopia website. You can find hundreds of things on there.
Here at the College Preparatory School in Oakland, California, collaborative learning is one of the most important ways our students learn and grow.
In math, we work in groups every day, asking each other questions before we ask the teacher.
In English, we lead our own roundtable discussions to deepen our understanding of the books we read.
College Prep is one of the top private high schools in the country and a terrific model for collaborative learning. The good news, their practices are both replicable and affordable. Take a look at what they do for their students. It may change what you decide to do for yours.
College Prep school is a 52-year-old school. It was founded by two women who had a strong vision of a place where academics could really thrive. The collaborative teaching and learning that we do here is really distinctive. Individual work can be a great way to master content, but what the group work empowers and kind of enables is a student's cultivation of a certain resilience. How do you look to your neighbor as a resource? How do you test your own theories? How do you understand if you're on the right track or the wrong track? The sort of habits of mind that actually are the underpinnings of deeper scholarship.
We have 45-minute classes, and the math classes meet every day. The kids come in and they go over the homework in their groups by comparing answers.
I got the square root of b squared plus a squared. Yep.
And then if they're having no resolution, like a problem was too hard for everybody, that's the signal that says that we need to talk about a problem or two as a class.
The thing I like most about the group work is how easy it is to get help if you're stuck on a problem. I mean, you can just ask one of your group mates to help you, and everybody's really ready to lend a hand.
It's these two lines, and then we do the slope formula from 0 to that.
All right, here comes classwork 30. The ones I care most about are 1 and 2.
And then it says draw the segment from AB to CD. So just connect those points.
We designed the classwork problems to be harder than the homework problems. The homework problems tend to be more straightforward, and the classwork problems are much meatier. And so in order for them to actually accomplish them, they have to talk to each other.
For harder problems, usually our group will work together, and we can usually come to a solution just by putting like little pieces of it together.
Negative d over c for line 2.
I don't think it's negative d over c.
Yeah, because it's
The best groups talk about the problems before they take pencil to paper. You really tell their faces are directed towards each other. They are, looking at each other's papers, and they're learning so much more. They're learning how to be proactive. They're learning how to depend on their peers.
Today you will work as a team of surveyors, putting to use your knowledge of basic compass and straight edge constructions. Your only tools will be a length of rope and a piece of chalk.
I feel like when we work outside together, it just kind of brings our group together a little bit more.
You needed someone to hold the rope and someone to move the chalk, and so it was just like the next step in collaboration was working together to make one big end result.
What I do in my classroom is I try to make the kids feel as comfortable and as safe to be able to take the risks that will create a good conversation. On the first day of class with the 9th grade, I start by asking the students what are the values implicit in sitting around this large wooden oval table. And they come up with a list on their own. First and foremost is respect, and also listening to each other, being courteous, having the right geography of the classroom. It's really important. I always make sure before we start class, can you all see each other? Can you make eye contact with your classmates? And if you can't, I have them adjust their chairs so that they can. I always tell the kids, check your ego at the door. Be willing to take risks and just have fun and just throw out ideas. And you throw something else out and it's not fully formed, that's great, because somebody else can jump in and build on an idea. Another sort of easy trick I have is to start with a kind of a reflective moment, a moment of silence, or a little moment of writing.
Remembering you want to have your feet firmly planted on the floor, then the next thing you want to do is focus on the breath. How was that?
It only takes a couple minutes, but just having that moment to let out the anxiety is great because it really can improve their concentration for the class so that they're able to have that kind of engaged conversation.
And if you guys need a little bit of extra...
What's important is to have a set of guidelines for the students.
In this conversation, I'm going to have you guys write down the questions and then talk to each other about the conversation, about the book. And I'm going to sort of step back and take notes. And I'll do a little bit of guiding, but you guys are going to talk to each other.
And there's 3 particular roles that students will fill. One is the scribe role, where one student is taking notes on the conversation so that all the other students can be fully engaged in the conversation that's happening. Another role is a little map, where one student is monitoring who's speaking when, and they draw these sort of diagrams so that there's a visual map of how the conversation is going.
Now, the other thing I just want to point out, since I'm showing these to you, is would you say this is a good conversation? Yes. How about that? Right.
And then the third role is the moderator role.
So I was the moderator, and it was my job to make sure that we didn't stay on one topic for too long or move too quickly. It was also my job to make sure that everybody talked. Okay, I think we should hear from someone who hasn't talked yet.
Taya, Caroline, Noah, Max.
Well, Athena's making him seem godlike, so I think he's just like taking a gamble at establishing.
When we're having a conversation, you really feel like you're part of the conversation and not like, oh, you're sitting in the back of the class and you can't actually see the person who's talking. And also, it's a great way for people to exchange ideas back and forth and sort of have everyone contribute.
Who do you think is the modern equivalent to Odysseus?
Tebow.
In addition to setting up the conversation the first time around, at the end of each Harkness discussion, to sort of take a few minutes to sort of check in with the students and ask, well, how'd we do?
How'd you do? How do you think that went?
I like that. I mean, I feel like I learn a lot more when we discuss things and we get deeper into it. So yeah.
Great. Eli, how's it look?
And I like to keep those maps so that we can kind of chart the progress in terms of Harkness discussions.
And those who talk not so much, right? Maybe step in a little bit, and if other people can help them, because it really is a group effort, right? Some people just need a little bit more help and a little bit of space to do it. So next time we do it, let's be mindful of that. But I think overall, you guys did a really terrific job.
Teaching in this discussion-based way is really the most challenging, but also the most exciting form of teaching I know. It never gets old, and honestly, I feel like I still have a lot to learn about it.
I think the special sauce at College Prep is really about the kind of community values that kids find when they come here. They think they're coming for a first-rate academic preparation, and that certainly is the centerpiece of what we're doing, but what I think makes us special and distinct is actually this culture of respecting the individual, of celebrating the small victories, of kind of enthusiastically embracing all parts of the learning experience.
So which domain do you think cooperative learning fits into? Right. The main area is the us, but you need the self-awareness and the self-regulation in order to be a good contributor, and you need to be able to take the perspective of someone else and to be mindful of who's participating and who's not, to engage everyone in the group. So it is an us domain, but it requires the skills of the me and the you also. Hence why it's such an important part of what we're going to kind of wrap up the us domain today.
So again, you saw a lot of activities in there, and I love the map. Did you like the map? Like, yeah, isn't this fun? So we use this. Imagine if we'd been using a map this week. Not everybody has been in the conversation. I know everybody's been listening, but this is a very powerful way to make sure that your students are engaged and also find the courage, you know, to get going and dive in. Although this school seems to be pretty much organized and they seem to be doing most of the time cooperative learning, you know, this would be the kind of thing you can add once in a while to your classes. You don't have to teach like this all the time. There's some formal teaching can be done. And then once in a while, why don't you do some conversation-based learning? Have the map, have the scribe, have the person, you know, figure out, you know, be the moderator. So also you're developing all these cell skills when you're doing that.
What I love about this video is that you get to see Well, what we see in this video, which is really important, is that you see math, science, and English. So it's just an easy way to see how it can be incorporated. It doesn't like me. Okay. So today we wanted just to add to this video because we think it's a very powerful one, and we're going to play some games together, and there's going to be someone that's going to be taking the role of the map. But before we do that, we're going to teach you what our little addition is called TLT.
Because one thing that we didn't see in this video, you saw activities, you saw all kinds of things that implicitly develop cell, but it didn't talk about emotional literacy. And we're going to add that piece for you and how we use it in the collaborative learning Because actually collaborative learning is the highest form of communication. You really need to be good, troubleshoot. Things will happen in your team. Some students will argue about something, some will want to do everything, the other ones don't want to work. You need to be able to communicate, and you need to have this emotional literacy and this ability to regulate. You need all the 6 components of the cell model. You want to explain TLT?
Okay. So one of the things is that you can't just throw kids together and expect them to be able to cooperate like this. That requires some teaching. Because like Sophie says, you'll just get natural born leaders who take a lot of space and people who are happy to stand back and say nothing. And you need to make sure that everyone's participating. That's the whole purpose of a cooperation. So TLT, it stands for talk, listen, and take your place. And we, in the curriculum we've developed, we have 2 lessons to kind of get you going. And the first lesson is asking kids to reflect, or students to reflect on themselves. In various situations, when do they need to talk a little bit more, or listen a little bit more, or take their place as an individual? Then the second lesson is, as a group, how did we do? What do we need to do differently as a group? But first you need to connect with yourself. So what would you add? Oh, and request. So it's about talking and listening in giraffe as opposed to jackal. Because often when we work with students, they're very quick to react, and it's easy to talk in jackal. Not like that, pull harder, move back, do it like this. And that's jackal, and we need them to translate.
And also, sadly, when we do collaborative learning, there's still an evaluation, academic evaluation, so there's a pressure on our students. Collaborative learning should evaluate the collaborative work. But we're putting kids together to perform and give us a result at the end, so that will cause a lot of tension. And we'll end up having this, because one kid wants to have a good grade. One doesn't care about the grade. So this is where we're a little going, even in our schools in Canada, this goes wrong. According to me, collaborative learning should have no end result other than being able to assess how the students collaborate together. But sadly, we do put a result at the end, so this will come up, so we have to deal with this. Right?
So the last part between talk, listen, take your place is how do you make a clear request? And sure. So you're talking about talking in giraffe? So when you're talking, how do you ask a student to do something, but in a way that's talking with your giraffe ears on as opposed to your jackal ears? And how do you listen in giraffe as opposed to jackal?
And also what's important is when we collaborate, the talking bit has to be done, there's both ways to it. I have to talk to myself in giraffe, I have to talk to others. So let's say I'm collaborating with Tara and I'm like, inside myself, oh my God, no, not math, I can't do this. Now I'm stressing out. I'm not really speaking to myself in giraffe. I have to say, whoa, Sophie, calm down, take a deep breath. We can do this. If it doesn't work, we're going to go get help. Okay, so this is one place I start with me. Talk to myself in giraffe. And Tara, I'm a little nervous. Can you help me with this? Because I don't really get it. I didn't hear what the teacher said. Talk to others in giraffe. Now the listening bit, same thing. When we're collaborating, I have to listen to myself. It's a bit like talking to myself. Uh-oh, I can't do this anymore. This is getting too hard. I need to get help. I'm listening to what's happening for me, and I'm listening to others. So if Tara is really angry, I'm going to have to translate in giraffe and go, okay, are you frustrated and you need to slow down a bit, and should we talk about this? So we're putting our ears on, and they're going to go like this, right? And sometimes the jackal's going to come up. And then we have to figure this out and regulate ourselves, be self-aware, engage with the relationship with other, and then do responsible decision-making. It's really high-level cell skills. Now, take your place. This is a great one. So we discovered that actually, when it comes to collaborative learning, the best way to see your students' types and ways of collaborating is through kinesthetic exercises. That means in the movement. When we put them 4x4 on a table and do something in English or math or whatever, You don't really see much other than, okay, they fight all the time, these four are not good together. But when you put them with a fun game like this, where you have to move with a ball, you're going to see exactly what goes on in their style of cooperation, which applies to the academic after. So these are the games we're going to go and play. The take your place bit, you're going to see this is 4 strings and 4 people are holding it. When one student is holding the string and it's loose, that student is not taking his or her place, just following around. Taking your place means, oh, I need to participate, I have my place here. If I feel I'm being excluded, I've got to say something. So taking your place, again, in giraffe, not in jackal. So that takes a lot of courage. A lot of students don't want to take their place. They want to be seen, hidden in the back, hiding. Taking your place is like, okay, yeah, I'm going to do this. Even if it's really, really scary, I'm going to take my place. Some kids take all the place. They pull the toy thingy and everybody's like running after. That's taking too much place. So the others would be responsible to say, okay, I think you're taking all the place. We also want to take our place, like this is not balanced right now. So the first movement to this is to self-evaluate our own collaborative skills based on the TLT model. When I did that game, was it hard or easy? It was super hard. This is the things I ask the kids after. Hard or easy? Oh, it was so hard. What was hard for you? What do you need to do? What's your challenge? I think I need to talk a bit more. To yourself or others? No, to others. I'm good with me. I need to talk to the team. Tara, what was it for you? Well, I'm just role-playing, but for me in real life, talking and taking my place is really hard. So this is something I had to work at. So now that I know that, whatever I do, even if it's a math or science or whatever, these skills will I have to be mindful that, okay, don't forget to take your place and speak to people. So.
But I need to be mindful that if I'm on a team with Sophie and that's something that's hard for her, then I'm going to be the one that's going to try to encourage her. If I notice that she's not talking, I'll say, hey, Sophie, what's your idea? What do you need to do? Or how can you contribute? And I can help Sophie.
So we're also developing empathy and we're observing the others and trying to help them too. And the last thing that we add to the TLT model is the request that we worked on, with the NVC model, observation, feeling, needs, request. So not, Tara, you're going to do this like that. I said we should color this in red. That's a demand. So the request is, would you be willing to add this color instead of this one? So the whole team has to use the request. For small kids, it's fantastic. We call that the magic question because, we talked about that last week, the magic question. If you get a yes, great. If you get a no, great. But if you get a no when you're collaborating, you're going to have to be curious instead of, what's the mantra? Furious, exactly. We teach this to children. You get a no, be curious instead of furious, okay? So this is the TLT model that you need to add to collaborative learning. It's not just an activity or a game. There's always this thing in the back. It's great to start with kinesthetic and exercises and games, but then slowly you also tell your student that this applies to their work, academic work. So this is the first part of this. We need to understand what are our own collaborative skills and models. The second part, and this is lesson 16 here, because I think what we would like to do before we go out and play, because we're going to try these things, we want you to read lesson 16, but not the whole thing, just the pedagogical objective, the first page. So you would, in teams of 4, you would have to read just the first page of lesson 16, just to understand what we've just said, basically, the same thing. And then the next lesson is about understanding group dynamics. Once I understand how I collaborate, what do I do with this group and how does that work together? So this is lesson 17. And in lesson 17, then we go deeper into the communication skills that we need for collaborative learning. It's really also lesson 17 is about starting a basic understanding of systems and group dynamics and how to navigate them. Okay, we done? Any questions about collaborative learning? Any questions about this? No? Okay, so here's what we're going to do. Yeah, we're going to describe the 3 games, but before we go out, maybe we're going to, again, distribute curriculums in groups of 3 or 4. You can stay where you are, just read these 2 pages together. Maybe somebody reads out loud, and then the games go like this. This is a little complicated when we organize. We're going to make 3 teams of 12. So there are 3 stations, because we're going to try 3 games. There's one game that involves 12 people at the same time. And I'm not fully explaining it because it's very obvious. It's going to be emptying a bucket of water into something else. Great fun. Then the other 2 games, they go 4 by 4. So if you have a team, when you get to this station, your group of 12 will have 3 teams of 4. Team 1, 2, 3. And then each team will have a go. Shall we demonstrate this? I think we should demonstrate it here. This is called Make a Move. So, because we want everybody to try these games. And the other thing is, in each team of 12, I think it could be fun to have what they were describing there in the film. A scribe, someone taking brief note, observing what's going on in the cooperation. I don't know, Tara, we talked about that. I don't know if it's quite real, if we can really make it like the scribe and the map for this. No, because everybody takes a turn at this. We always do that while we're like, are you sure? Are you sure? I think I would rather than take it down, I would rather have everybody that is not doing this while the group 1 is doing this. I want the 8 other people in that team to really observe and maybe offer positive feedback at the end, because that's the thing. When we cooperate, negative feedback like, it's your fault, we failed, and you shouldn't have done it like that, and that's not going to lead anywhere. But you try to look for the positive stuff. Wow, that was so hard, but you did so well at when you try to avoid this obstacle. So positive feedback. But the team that's actually doing this work will have to self-reflect on what was hard for them and what they should really improve on this model. So we're going to do the demonstration here, make it easier. So we need 4 volunteers. Really fun. 4 people. We're going to pick. Tara's going to start counting. She's good at that. Should we put a piece of paper so we can put it down? Yeah? Okay. Now, when we were doing this in Ladakh last summer, it was amazing to see that it was always like, well, boys and girls. And then even like 2 boys on one side and 2 girls on the other. And then the teachers, we knew that boys and girls don't mix easily. But I think teachers went, uh-oh, we should do something about this. We really had to help the students mix up a little bit more. When you do collaborative learning, everybody should be able to work together, boys or girls. Okay, you guys are ready. So what you're going to do is you're going to go, where's the other ball? Oh, great, you did it like level 10. Because this is what we do. We have a small class and then we don't move the desk, we just go across and good luck. So you're going to have to get over there. And what we tell students is it a problem if the ball falls? No, because the goal is not actually not making the ball fall. It's collaborating, speaking in giraffe, listening in giraffe, and taking your place in giraffe. So good luck. Oh, it's over there. Okay, it's over there. Tara, I think we should have this exercise in this room. Because outside is going to be way too easy. We like to make things a bit hard. Okay, let's observe them and see how they collaborate. You have to gently touch the blue ball, or you can put it down on the table. Way! Okay. So, yeah, come back. Yeah, why not? But before you go back there, this team has to be here, and you have to be there. You have to do a 360. Ah, good. Can you bring it down? Let's put it on the floor this time. Oh, stuff is happening. Yay, well done. Okay, so now leave the ropes down here. Okay. Yeah, and now come over here. So what I would do is call the team up and say, well done, that was great. Now, was it hard or easy for you? So what do you think, even if you have to improve something, what would it be in here? I thought you took your place quite well. Nothing is... Hmm? Maybe in the request. So that starts from here. That's where I was going to. So that starts from listening to each other maybe a bit more. So that that would come up. What was it hard or easy for you? Not hard. And if you have to improve one thing, as a group, we said maybe doing more requests, but that comes from also listening more. Is it the same thing for you also? Hmm? Listen more? I thought you listened really well. What about this? Did you talk? I didn't see you talk much. Yeah? Yeah, you did? Okay. So maybe listen. What about you? Was it hard or easy? Talk more. See? So this is helpful for ourselves. It's not a judgment. It's like, okay, wow, I'm going to have to think about talking a bit more. Now we could go into the group dynamic as a group, and then we don't go into were you good or bad, because that's not going to really be helpful. In terms of everybody's energy, did you put your 100%? So from 1 to 10. Like 10, I did my best, and 1, I really didn't work at all. So 1 to 10. How much energy did you put in there? 10. 7? 10? Okay, so, and sometimes we have somebody in the team goes, oh, I couldn't go up beyond 4. And now we're going to have to be curious with that colleague, like, why? I hate this thing, or this is too hard for me. So then we go, okay, how can we help to bring the energy? Because if we perform well, our energy is going to be high. If it's not good, well then. Ooh. So as a group, what do you think? Where were you? From 1 to 10? 7? 7, 8? Yeah, but that's super good. Okay. And last thing, you have to congratulate yourself. So you go high five or whatever. Team congratulation. Yeah. Okay.
And I asked someone at the very last minute after you guys had already started if we could do a map just to see how easy it is. And when you see the map, it's actually you were already halfway to the other side, and you can see clearly that everyone participated, and maybe there was a little bit more participation between 2 people as opposed to the 4 in terms of talking. But
are we doing this?
What?
We're making maps?
Yeah, we're making maps. Maps are super helpful for teachers, super helpful. So if you can practice today, you don't have to show anyone, it's just so that you can get a sense of who's talking.
So will you explain how each team somebody has to explain?
Like when you do your, sorry, I'm going to give this back. When you have 12 people doing the bucket, you have 12 people watching. So one of those people who's watching will have a piece of paper. Thank you very much. We'll have a piece of paper and a pen, and they'll just draw a circle, just like you saw in the video, and you start your pen in the middle, and you just draw a line to the people who are talking during the activity. So there's 12 people doing the activity, one person, anyone?
Because that changes what I explained.
Why?
We always do that. Because I was going to put 12 people, one on each station. Now you say 12 people do the game and the others observe. Who's the others?
Okay, I'll do the map for the 12 people doing the bucket. Anybody else can do the map of the other, because there's only 4 people doing the other activities. So if everyone could bring out a pen and a piece of paper, it's going to be perfect. From the 12 are doing one activity, so I'll do the map for that one. 4 are doing one activity, the other activity.
3 teams of 12, 3 stations. 1 team at the bucket, one team of 12 here with this.
But there's only 4 people participating.
Yes, so while the 4 people in these 2 workshops with this and this game, which is slightly different, you're going to discover, 4 people at a time, so the 8 others of that team would have to take some notes and see who's participating or not. Yeah? Okay, is this clear? It's complicated. This is fun. So when you do collaborative learning, this stuff happens. You have like really think through the thing to make sure it works. Okay, are we all clear? Are we saying the same thing? Yeah. So it's going to be 3 teams of 3, but before we go out, we want you to read these 2 lessons, just the first page of each lesson, so you can understand again what we just said. You want to explain it now? This is very simple. It's 4 people, and you're just throwing a ball. Wait, something fun's happening. Vishnu's had a crazy idea. He says, well, we can actually play 8 people for this, because there's 8 handles. I think we could try both. This would be fun. So either 4 or 8. I think you should try both. You should try 4 and then 8.
Oh God! So that's going and I'm catching? Yep. No! Come on! This is crazy! Oh! Oh! Okay. God, this is crazy. Takes a little. Takes a little.
Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Okay, we got the hang of it.
So 8 people doing this would be really hard. And as you're doing it, like we can play, but we can also strategize. Like I was hearing that they were going 1, 2, 3. That. Oh yeah, we haven't had time to strategize. I think I was focusing on fun. I don't know about you. Okay, so this is the third game. Whereas we were just having fun because, yeah. Okay, so before we go out, just pass these along. Tara, you're going to pass them along. You have them. So lessons 16 and 15, just read the first page together, and then we're going to go out and start trying these things. Hey, have you read the lesson? Okay, one more. Okay, are we ready to go? Now, you don't have to memorize this lesson. It was just like just to give you an idea of how it goes. So you have exactly less than a minute to stand up, mix yourselves up, and come up with 3 teams of 12. Go! Now. Oh, when you've found your group, one stand in a corner here, one there, one here. Okay, go. we're timing. We're timing everything. Less than a minute. Find your group. 12. Maybe we could have one person extra. And we can, or you could be the scribes. Let's hold on to that for a sec. Okay, part of collaborative learning is also consolidating your teams, and this could be applied to a class as well. So I'm going to give you, team consolidation means creating a sense of belonging, so that when things go wrong, we're going to tend towards remaining friends rather than just argue over it. So you have 1.5 minutes to find a name, and to name your team. It could be like the Blue Momos, whatever. But everybody has to agree on the name. So here you go. 1.5 minutes. Find a name for your team. So, what's your name? Team number or team what? Potala. Okay, I'm gonna write it down. Ooh, that's auspicious. Team Potala. Okay. Okay, in the back, what's your name? Groundnut. Badam like peanuts. Team Badam. Okay, perfect. And over there, what's your name? Man. Yeah, super. Okay, we're not done yet. Team consolidation has three levels to it. First, you got your name. I want you to find a motto, or this is a rallying cry, like, you know, the Three Musketeers, all for one for all. So you need to find your motto, and you have 1.5 minutes to do it. And it could be go, 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 I don't care. But it's something specific to your group that you use to cheer yourself and encourage yourself. Okay, go.
Does anyone have any questions? I don't think they
Hero time. Very good, very good. Hero time. So, Team Patala, what's your motto or your... Oh, that's good. All right, nice. Get a bit of energy there. Unity! Okay, we want to hear the real one. Go! 3, 2, 1. Yes, that's good. Now that's a motto. Okay, Team Badam, and you have to do it well because I'm in the front here. Eat your motto. Eat Badam. Eat Badam. Okay, great. Shaktiman. We're together. 3, 2, 1. Yay. Okay, and the last one. This is the last one. Tara's gonna explain it. No, we don't know how to say it in English. we got your name, you got your motto, but then you have to find a gesture where everybody will touch at least one hand to express like your group unity. I don't know if everybody does a high five in the center or if you pass something around. So you have 1 minute to find that out. Time's up. Time's up. So I want to see Team Shaktiman. What's your rallying? Well, do the whole thing. Go Team Shaktiman, your motto, and then the gesture. Go. Anytime. Okay. Of Team Badam. All right. And Team Kotala. Wonderful. Well done, everybody. Okay, are we ready? Are we ready to try this game, or should we? Because the tea break is in less than 20 minutes. Should we? What should we do? We should start. Yeah? Okay. Here's what we're going to do, because if we start now and there's 20 minutes and we do break, it's a little bit annoying. It's going to break, I think, the flow. So we're going to do another game before we go into tea break. This one is called Pass the Noise Around. So each team has to come up with a sound. It could be boom, it could be ding, I don't know. And then you're going to take your sound, and as you're saying your sound, you're passing it to a team. And the team has to catch it and then say that sound. And then the next team takes their sound and send it to the other one. Okay? What? So I'll give you an example. I'm a team of one person. My sound is dong. So I'm going to go dong. Boom. And then you're going to catch and we're going to go like this. Okay? So we're going to do it with the three big teams first, or should we break down?
No, three is good, but
two big teams.
Come up with two sounds.
Okay, so think about your two sounds. Together, think about your two sounds. Take about 30 seconds. You have to do the same sound now. You have to do the same gesture. Okay, Team Shaktiman, you throw your sound to Team Badam. Okay, and Team Badam, back to Patala. Okay, we're going with sound number 2. Team Badam, second sound. Shaktiman, your turn. Okay, wait, it's not finished. That's way too easy. That was way too easy. What we're gonna do, you have two sounds, and you have to throw the sound to whatever team. It's okay if it's the same team. I don't care if you throw twice to the same team. I don't want to see anybody take their time to laugh and talk. We're gonna have to go fast.
No talking.
No talking, just sending the sound. Because that was too long. That took a few minutes. I want to see this happening much faster. Now we're developing concentration. Are you ready? Do you get it? Yeah, but then the other team catches really fast and then sends again and back, round.
No, it does not need to be a new sound. It can be the same sound, no problem. But you need to be really quiet, and you have to watch each other so you know where it's coming from, so you can receive it and send it back.
It has to be one of the two sounds you decided on. Maybe you could call it sound 1 and 2 so you know how to send it fast. And you know what? We're going to time you guys. This is fun. Okay. So to make a little change, we're going to start with Team Shaktiman.
Okay, but before you start, when you have your class, you can see there's lots of energy. They're still talking. So you have to say, everybody.
Okay, everybody.
We're taking 3 deep breaths. Total silence. 1, 2, 3. Team Badam is gonna start.
And we want to see some fast action here.
3, 2, 1, go.
Shaktiman, last round. You send the last sound. Okay, well done everybody. That took less than a minute. That was great. Okay, so shall we go see if we can maybe have the tea break a little early? Is it okay with you, you think? We have the tea break now, and then we go out and we try these 3 cooperative games. So, here we go. Is this working? Yeah, it's working. Okay, who's tired? Raise your hand. Okay. Oh, who's in the volcano? Yeah, let's see. Who's in the iceberg? Ah, that's good. And who's calm alert? Oh, wow. Okay, good. The Team Badam? Yeah? Team Badam, calm alert. So before we finish the day, I think, Nimala, you had a wonderful comment. Do you want to share with the group about, yeah?
I was just thinking that when we are having collaborative or cooperative learning, maybe you have witnessed the cooperative teaching, and that is very useful in our day-to-day life. So suppose we have got more teacher, and sometimes even you can join your class, and I used to do this in my school. So it's very useful, and it is helpful because 2 people are teaching. They are not teaching simultaneously, and as we have witnessed this one by one. So when you go to your schools for teaching, the collaborative teaching, I found is very useful. That is what I was saying that. And we have seen the cooperative learning. And this will finally lead to the, the students will observe the easiness and beauty of the collaborative teaching. And then they may lead to the peer learning and peer teaching. This was what I was thinking about. Thank you.
And you know, you were talking about a difference between cooperative and collaborative. I think cooperative learning, we would talk about that for our students, but collaborative teaching would be more like an appropriate word, because we're collaborating. I don't know. I don't know the full meaning if we would have to go in the dictionary, but for teachers I would say collaborative teaching, and then for students cooperative learning. So what we want to do now is take at least a good 10 minutes. Maybe you discuss with the person next to you 2 by 2 or in a slightly larger group. How was the experience of using these things? What connection could you make to your curriculum? Was it helpful, and do you think you could use this kind of approach with your classes? So take a few minutes to discuss that, and then we'll share in large group. Okay? Tara says I have to clarify. So it's like debriefing. Talk to your colleagues next to you or go sit somewhere. What did you learn? Was it useful? Could you use it back in your school? What was your experience? So just debrief with someone next to you or in a small group, and then we share what we learned together as a large group after. Maybe not 10 minutes, maybe just 5. 5 is good, I think.
Okay, ready? Let's just share together what you discussed in your groups. I'll tell you, anyway, is anyone willing to talk? Yes?
We discussed that of myself, I'm working in school as a counselor, so we have to teach topic like teamwork, group work, and other things. So these activities are going to help me a lot to let students understand the topic. Moreover, while doing this kind of activity, we can get to know the importance of teamwork, and then we can identify the skill of each individuals, creative thinking, right? And then respect for each other, and yes, connection. And then also our positive language get improved, and then joy of working together for common goal, and then critical thinking sometime. Yes.
And I'm going to add 2 points. One is secure and safe when you work in team. And then I come to know, and through this activity, that every individual is unique.
Thank you. Sophie and I were just talking that if we had done this cooperative game today, if we had done it yesterday, and then today we'd asked you to do the lessons that we asked you to do, do you think there would have been a difference? Yeah. Because yesterday, even though you were working in teams, you felt like you were individuals and you were trying to perform and be perfect. But today, we spent time figuring out a group name and a geste khaliar and a motto, and it made us feel close to each other and safe, so that when you went out and worked together, you could be a team and have fun. And now you can come back and not feel so shy to share because we just had a really good time together. So that's really important to remember for your students when you're working with them. So who would like to speak next?
So the activity we just done outside, that was, for me, that was honestly, that was fun. and it was energetic, and it was not the same as we do in the classroom. It was like sometimes we felt bored in the classroom, but it was not boring at all. And then it was also, and it's that we all got our freedom to share our ideas, and which we accepted through the respect, and we implemented. And then in the last task, we all got into some kind of a bit trouble, and then came out of an idea, and which fortunately worked at last. And then it also built the relationship in between us, and then it also develops the interpersonal skills, and then listening skills too. And that was my experience. Thank you.
And I love the fact that you said that, you know, we're not afraid, we're trying things, and imagine we were sharing our ideas, because now it looks like a silly game, but you teachers know that there's all this stuff behind it. We're not telling the students this, and as we get more and more comfortable, and then we can go into also academic topics and be less and less worried about sharing our ideas and taking risk in our learning. So these fun games, they build, and then they help us become more and more confident working together. Exactly. So it's fun, you know, you start with something fun, and then you can go into more like academic topics that are sometimes a little scarier.
I think I heard this group talking about something that could contribute to the conversation.
Thank you. First of all, I think the collaborative learning was wonderful. Before that, I want to add that we have always, I have always a preconceived notion that collaborative is not much fruitful. But I think from judging from the today's point of view, I think it's more fruitful. I don't know. Today's our team member is much more intelligent also, but I think the way the collaborative works, it works much faster. So it saves lots of times, and it can be used to any of our subjects as that of matter. And secondly, it teaches a lot of, like, we are having the temperature zone, so if suddenly if one is asked to perform a certain task, you have lots of either you have lots of excitement, or someone lots of sad because they are too shy. But if you work in a team, you are putting much. You are all are having much more freedom. That I have another company with doing my same thing. So I think it's helped a lot. Thank you.
I think one thing I'd like to add that I was chatting with this group about, that sometimes we think that it takes less time to do traditional teaching and get everyone to do their own work. And it's true, it does take less time. But when we take the time to do cooperative or collaborative group work, it's messy, it's loud, it takes more time, but we learn more because we learn from each other, and then the depth of our learning is much deeper, and then we can actually remember it forever, not just 2 seconds to write a test. So it's messy, but it doesn't matter whether it's math or science, it's profoundly.
And it's scary. Sorry.
It is scary.
No, I want to say that we've done so much, like, classes, so many classes that were terrible. Oh yeah. Not terrible, like we try something and it's like, oh my God, this is not working. And then the teacher's looking at us like, what are these two doing? Because we co-teach with teachers. So we try to do some cooperative games. Some of them really didn't work. And we can, but we still learned something, as Dara was saying. Even when they didn't work, we learned something and we still had fun. But you have to be able to also, it's a little scary because we're trying something, and when it doesn't work, there's still some good out of it.
But when it doesn't work, as the adult, you get to model that you make mistakes too, that you thought something was going to work and it didn't work. Shoot. And then you get to show them that they don't have to be perfect. They need to take risks and take chances and have their courage to learn, and that's what's important. And if you model that as a teacher, not being perfect and making mistakes, and then you do a lesson that you think is going to be spectacular and everyone's talking and not respectful and busy and you get angry, then it's amazing to say, wow, I'm so disappointed that totally didn't work the way I wanted it to. Everybody stop, and we're going to do an energy shift, or we're going to all like run around the gym or shake around, and then, okay, Let's try that again. So you're modeling that you have emotions too. How about this team? What did you learn?
It makes us to coming out of our own space, and we feel that it gave us to share lots of ideas, and we can also get ideas from others. In a way, it is improving our listening skills also, and we learned that it also developed lots of creativities. From a negative point, we found that it is too much tiring. Yeah, if it takes too long. If it is not guided properly, then it may go out of track. Then we also learned that it also gave us to learn lots of benefit in cooperative learning. I think he should have to say something. Yeah, like that only.
I love that you said you came out of yourself a little bit. What I loved is that when we went out and we started, I saw a lot of people not talking and sort of standing back and waiting and seeing. And at the end, when I was doing the maps, which I hope maybe we can see some of the maps, everybody was participating. And that's really nice to see.
Sorry.
And lastly,
we found that collaborative work is very effective. Everybody is out of comfort zone. Everybody's try to speak. And I also found that if we apply it in a classroom, the students are full. There is a full involvement of a student, so the rate of learning will be more, I guess. And forgetting rate will be slower. When we teach in a normal classroom, student will just means my point is that the rate of forgetting will be less, and there will be more retention and retention is, and as they have already said, it saves time, lots of time, and yeah, it is also fun and enjoyment.
Thank you. You're right. So I'll just address one more point where you were saying that sometimes if it's not guided, it gets messy. But sometimes we do activities with classes, especially young classes, on purpose that are not guided to see how it works. And inevitably, there's lots of jackal language and fighting. When we stop and we explain, how come that didn't work? What do we need to do to make it work in a team? And we talk about core needs and talking, listening, and taking your place. And then we redo the activity together. It's really fun to see what happens. Yeah. Do you want to add something?
I really like the messy bits because that's really where we see the social emotional skills at hand, whether they're there or not, or if we need to help, develop more skills or not. So, and messy is uncomfortable for us teacher. We're like things to run well, and then we have our lesson, and then things should be perfect. But messy, become friends with it, because it's quite rich, actually. Isn't this the Buddha's saying? No mud, no lotus? Isn't it? This is Thich Nhat Hanh, who's a very famous Buddhist teacher, and he always says, I have actually a necklace, and when I'm going to do a lesson, I'm not sure what's going to happen. I put this on. This is my motto. So, no mud, no lotus. And the muddy part is where most of the learning takes place. But if we're always looking for lotuses, this is like easy. The lotus are bright within themselves, but the teaching takes place in the muddy part. This is where we have to be sometimes. Yeah, and the learning. Yeah. Done. I think we're done for today. Wow, we're finishing 5 minutes early. Yay!
Oh, one question.
Wait. Oh, one. Oh, yeah. Okay. Questions. Yeah.
This is less of a question, more of a personal experience here. When we work in our traditional standard setup, our groups are more or less set. We work in the same group with the same people, same 2 or 3 odd colleagues, 4 or 5 odd colleagues whom we choose. But when we have a group working around us, well, then in that case, we have to mix with people we didn't mix with earlier. And it doesn't have to do with then just the work part. Outside of the school, outside of the life, there's a larger life where there's a larger group. So our sensing of that group, people in that group, our being hopeful of the in-group, like we say, that which we belong to, and spreading it out and looking for things outside in the unknown people. That can be perhaps housed through this activity. So that child, when he's going out into the later higher classes outside of school, he's not having those comfortable 4 or 5 people alone to whom he can speak to. So this is something which is great. So that also means that we have to keep mixing these groups up like they did at the start. Thank you.
So that's such a good point, and I promise we'll finish in 2 seconds. But when we asked you guys originally to form groups of 12 on your own, that's because we don't know all of you well enough to create groups of your own. But as a teacher, never, 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 never ask your students to form their own groups of 2 or 4 or 6 or 12. Never. Because you'll have that 1 or 2 kids who are not part of a group, and then they'll be alone. And then you as the teacher will say, okay, Sophie, you go with them. And you guys don't like Sophie. And you'll be like, oh, God, not Sophie. And even if you don't say it, your body language will say it, your eyes will say it, and then she feels terrible. So we're trying to make sure that we build a happy, healthy community for everybody. And you will get students who don't fit or who struggle or who you can totally understand why this kid is struggling and not fitting in. But it's up to us as the adults to do our best to help them develop their own social emotional learning skills by working with Horstel to make sure the counselor can support that kid in whatever skills she's missing. But in the classroom, it's your job to make sure that you understand the social architecture so everybody feels good. So I'm really glad you mentioned that. Thank you.
Yeah, and this is called social architecture, and the adults are architects. And that means in your class, it's difficult to see. You'll have to be much more curious and understand what's going on even outside your class to understand what comes into your class. You have to go out at recess. You have to know who's who. We are hired in our school also for conflict management. We have a map of 360 students, and we know every dynamic in the school. We know all of them. So, and it wasn't really hard, but we're very curious, and this is very useful because we also help the teachers understand this. So, we're gonna finish on time.
Okay, we won't finish. I'll tell you tomorrow.
Oh no, I'm gonna forget tomorrow.
Okay, I'll forget tomorrow. Okay. So she was saying for a group of 360 students, it's easy to do. When you're in a high school of 4,000 students, it's much more difficult. I don't know what your largest schools are, but the schools, high schools are quite large where we are in Canada. And one of the things that we know is that in order to prevent suicide, depression, dropout, is that everybody needs to feel like they belong and they fit. So in order to do that, when you're in a large school, we need to find strategies and solutions to help the adults know, because a lot of the older kids, it gets underground and we don't know. It's hard to see. So one of the strategies that we've used that I learned from Edutopia is on a PED day, we would go into like a space like this, and we would put, so no kids, just the adults, and we would put on the walls by grade all the students' names, and there'd be 4 columns. So you know the student's name, you know their academic level, you know something personal about them, and I think you feel very connected to them. And all the teachers would have to go around and look at all the lists and put their initials beside each kid's name. Oh yeah, I know that kid. I don't know anything about them. Oh yeah, that kid's allergic to red food coloring. I know a little bit about them. Oh yeah, that kid's on the swim team. That's a really competitive kid. I put my initials. And then at the end, you look at who has no tics, who has no initials, or we only know their academics. We don't know anything personal about them. And then those are the kids we decide, okay, that's in your class. How about you try to connect with them? Oh, that's in your class. Okay, you. And then we come back together afterwards. And what we discover is the kids that we know nothing about, sometimes it's your superstar English kid who does so well in your English class, but because they do well, not top of your class, but they do well, they do their homework, they hand stuff in, but they don't ask questions, you have no idea who that kid is. But they're actually pretty good. So let's find a way to highlight that kid. Or we didn't know that kid because he's socially isolated, has no friends, really is struggling at home, and he's completely shunned. Okay, what are we going to do for that kid? So we're finding something out to make sure that every kid feels good. And you can do little things like you stand at the front of your classroom and every time they walk in the door, you make eye contact. You say, oh, hi, Sophie. I'm glad you're here today. Oh, bitch, you were sick yesterday. Are you feeling better? And you make eye contact and you say everyone's name. It takes little tiny things to make sure everyone feels seen, special, and important.
I call that like, this is like a free thing. This doesn't cost anything. This hello and then goodbye is really, really important. And it really makes a huge difference for so many kids. So, and that doesn't cost anything. So this is like the most simple, easiest intervention that has quite a large impact. So, okay, then we're done. I had a last game, but I think we had enough.